The giant ballroom shimmered beneath crystal chandeliers that reflected thousands of tiny lights across polished marble floors. Every table had been decorated with fresh white roses, elegant silver candle holders, and custom-placed cards bearing the names of some of the wealthiest and most influential people in the city. A magnificent 5-tier birthday cake stood proudly in the center of the room, waiting to become the centerpiece of what was supposed to be the most memorable celebration of the year. At exactly 7 o'clock, soft piano music drifted through the nearly empty hall. One waiter glanced nervously toward another. A hostess checked her watch again. The event planner forced a smile she no longer believed. There was only one guest. Sitting alone near the enormous windows was 48-year-old CEO Jonathan Harrison. He wore a perfectly tailored navy blue suit despite being confined to a sleek black wheelchair. His once athletic frame had grown thinner after years of physical therapy following the devastating accident that had left him unable to walk. His silver-streaked dark hair was neatly combed, and his gentle blue eyes remained fixed on the ballroom entrance. Every few seconds, he smiled. Every few seconds, that smile faded just a little more. "They're probably stuck in traffic," he quietly told himself. He looked at his watch. 7:10. His executive assistant had promised the board members would arrive together. 7:15. His sister had texted that she was on the way. 7:20. Several business partners had personally confirmed their attendance. 7:30. The ballroom remained silent except for the music and the distant clinking of dishes in the kitchen. Jonathan slowly reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. No new messages. No missed calls. Nothing. He refreshed the screen. Still nothing. Across the room, the employees exchanged uncomfortable glances. No one knew what to say. Months had been spent planning this birthday celebration. Jonathan himself had insisted that every employee who wished to attend should feel welcome. He had rented the city's most luxurious hotel ballroom not because he wanted attention, but because he believed birthdays were opportunities to celebrate gratitude. He had imagined laughter filling the room. He had imagined old friends telling stories. He had imagined his employees bringing their families. Instead, there was silence. The head waiter approached carefully. "Mr. Harrison." Jonathan looked up with a hopeful expression. "Yes." "Would you like us to begin serving dinner?" Jonathan smiled politely. "No, let's wait another 15 minutes. "Of course, sir." The waiter nodded respectfully before walking away. Jonathan looked back toward the entrance. Every time the automatic doors opened, his heart lifted. Every single time. It was another hotel employee. Not one guest. Not one friend. Not one family member. Not one executive whose career he had helped build. He folded his hands together and whispered almost inaudibly, "Maybe they're planning a surprise." He wanted to believe it. He needed to believe it, because believing the truth hurt too much. Across town, however, something very different was happening. Inside an expensive downtown restaurant, several executives from Harrison Global Industries laughed over glasses of wine. Jonathan's birthday invitation sat folded on one corner of the table. Someone picked it up. Another executive chuckled. "Do you really think he's still expecting us?" A woman wearing an elegant red dress shrugged. "He'll survive." A younger executive smirked. "It's not like he can chase us." Several people laughed. None of them noticed how cruel those words truly were. Jonathan Harrison had spent nearly 25 years building Harrison Global from a struggling manufacturing company into one of the country's largest technology firms. He had personally paid college tuition for dozens of employees' children. He had quietly covered medical bills for workers facing impossible situations. Every Christmas, he anonymously purchased gifts for families who couldn't afford them. No television cameras. No press releases. No social media posts. He simply believed success meant lifting others along the way. Few people even knew the company maintained an emergency employee fund entirely financed from Jonathan's personal fortune. When factory worker Michael Torres lost his home in a fire, Jonathan secretly bought his family another one. When receptionist Angela Morris needed life-saving surgery, Jonathan paid every hospital bill without revealing his name. When warehouse manager Samuel Reed's daughter earned admission to medical school but couldn't afford tuition, Jonathan made sure an anonymous scholarship covered every semester. Again, without asking for recognition. To him, kindness was an investment. It was simply the right thing to do. But success has an unfortunate way of attracting people who admire wealth more than character. Over time, Jonathan's circle changed. Business dinners replaced family gatherings. Corporate partnerships replaced genuine friendships. People complimented his achievements while quietly calculating what they could gain from knowing him. Then came the accident. 5 years earlier, Jonathan had been driving home after personally visiting one of his oldest factories. Heavy rain had turned the highway into a dangerous ribbon of water. A speeding truck lost control. Metal screamed. Glass exploded. Everything went dark. When Jonathan woke in the hospital weeks later, doctors stood around his bed with expressions no patient ever wants to see. "I'm sorry," one surgeon had said gently. "The damage to your spinal cord is permanent." Jonathan didn't cry. Not then. Instead, he asked the first question that came to his heart. "My employees, were they hurt?" The doctor smiled softly. "No." Jonathan closed his eyes. Thank God. That single answer told everyone exactly what kind of man he was. The months that followed became the greatest test of his life. Learning to live in a wheelchair wasn't simply about physical limitations. It was about watching people slowly disappear. Some friends visited every week at first, then once a month, then birthdays, then holidays. Eventually, nothing. Phone calls became shorter. Invitations stopped arriving. Business partners suddenly became too busy. People who once praised his leadership now questioned whether someone unable to walk could still lead a multinational corporation. Jonathan heard whispers during board meetings. Maybe it's time for younger leadership. The company needs someone more energetic. Investors may lose confidence. He pretended not to hear them. Instead, he focused on proving that leadership came from vision, not legs. Against every prediction, Harrison Global became even more profitable. Revenue doubled. Employee satisfaction reached record levels. New charitable programs expanded nationwide. Yet strangely, the more successful Jonathan became, the lonelier he felt. People admired his company. Few cared about the man behind it. That loneliness became most obvious every birthday. Each year, the guest list grew smaller. Excuses became easier. "This week is difficult. I'm traveling." Something unexpected came up. Jonathan never complained. He always answered with kindness. "No worries. We'll celebrate another time." Most of those celebrations never happened. Still, he refused to become bitter. Every morning, he reminded himself of something his late mother had often said when he was a little boy. "Son, never let disappointment teach your heart how to hate." Those words became his compass. Even when disappointment arrived again, and again, and again, back inside the ballroom, it was now 8 o'clock. 1 full hour had passed. The pianist quietly stopped playing. The candles on the enormous birthday cake flickered gently. Jonathan stared at the untouched rows of chairs. More than 200 invitations had been sent. Not one guest had arrived. The event planner slowly approached his table. Her voice trembled. "Mr. Harrison." "Yes, I'm so sorry." Jonathan looked around the empty ballroom. For several long seconds he said nothing. Then he smiled. A tired, heartbroken, yet strangely peaceful smile. "It's all right." His voice was calm. "I suppose life doesn't always follow the schedule we plan." The planner's eyes filled with tears. She had organized hundreds of luxury events over the years. She had never witnessed anything so heartbreaking. Jonathan reached toward the birthday cake. He carefully lit one final candle. Just one. The room became completely silent. He closed his eyes, made a wish, and whispered softly, "I hope, wherever kindness still exists, it finds its way here tonight." He opened his eyes, blew out the candle. Neither he nor anyone else in that ballroom had the slightest idea that only a few miles away, a tired black single father named Marcus Brooks was finishing the longest workday of his life. Within the next hour, Marcus would make one simple decision. A decision so unexpected, so ordinary, yet so profoundly compassionate, that it would change Jonathan Harrison's life forever. And before the night was over, everyone who abandoned a lonely CEO would discover that the smallest act of genuine kindness can accomplish what millions of dollars never could.